What up, what up, what up, what up, what up, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of the Bird's Eye View Show. It's been a while since we did one, but my homie Ian dropped a video on BlackRock, and that's one of my favorite topics that gets covered because I feel like my company's kind of in competition with them long term. But if you haven't been to the channel before, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. Hit that like button, hit that sub button, and that bell icon. All that's gonna tell the algorithm this is good content. And trust me, you need to hear this. I don't know everything he put in it. I just saw the notification that the video popped up. But the fact that Ian's doing another video on it means maybe he's giving some slightly different context to it, right? And we can get some info on it. And if you don't know what BlackRock is, it is the biggest financial asset manager in the world, and they essentially own the world, but like not really. But they have voting rights in basically everything. So let's get into it.
Widely misunderstood conspiracies of our day. So today we're going to unpack the real BlackRock conspiracy. What do we really mean when we say that BlackRock owns everything? I've been doing this research for about 2 years now, and I think it's finally time to put it all together into one long form video and lay out the whole thing and unpack who really owns the world. Conspiracy theories on Sunday that I was walking through my local supermarket thinking about how I just learned that tampons are full of endocrine disruptors and reprotoxic chemicals. I just started a TikTok account 2 months prior dedicated to researching and learning about how the world works, and I had just done a report on tampons. And it's insane. Somehow it's just accepted medical practice of today that once a month for several days, women just stick a chemical soaked sponge into one of the most sensitive mucous membranes on their bodies, right next to their uterus and ovaries and all that. They basically inject themselves with a whole cocktail of chemicals well known to damage reproductive organs and dysregulate hormones and cause cancer. Researchers found glyphosate at 40 times the legal limit for drinking water. They found arsenic, lead, cobalt, mercury, and cadmium, among many other chemicals and heavy metals. My comments on the last video that I had made about the topic were flooded with stories of women saying that when they switched to organic cotton tampons or to Diva cups, their periods became way less painful, way less intense, basically overnight. And then, of course, there was a bunch of free bleeders just getting wild in there too. It was total anarchy. Is crazy. But yeah. I'm in the grocery store and I have this epiphany that seems really simple to me now. Like, I wonder if there are any organic cotton tampons in this grocery store. So I go to the tampon aisle and I take some photos of the selection available. And little did I know that those tampons, these ones right here, would change my life. Like, no joke, that tampon aisle quite directly led to me going on Joe Rogan and hosting the Candace Owens show and sitting here now talking to you. God works in mysterious ways.
Putting the ladies on. Hey, you put the ladies on. They ain't know. They probably ain't know.
Is that in most grocery stores, there's actually very little choice. Even when it looks like there are so many different brands to choose from, of the whole tampon section in that store, maybe 5% or less of the shelf space was devoted to organic, natural cotton tampons that didn't have poison in them. They were hidden way off in the corner out of sight. That's the blue section.
They're just like, poison. Come get this.
The bulk of the aisles was colorful boxes from all the big brands advertising Sport Fit and Freedom Flow and Comfort Care and just all sorts of made-up menstrual buzzwords. Colored here in red, orange, yellow, and pink. But turn the packages around and read the ingredients, and they're all the exact same product. A synthetic plastic-filled franking cloth with PFAS and bleach and other toxic chemicals laced all throughout. Just kidding. You actually can't read the ingredients because tampons aren't required to list their ingredients on the box. So trust the science, right? But you have dozens of choices of size and fit and flex and just about anything else except whether or not you want to poison your reproductive organs and disrupt your hormones.
Hey, ladies, don't put another tampon. If you're watching this, don't put another tampon
way up high in one little obscure corner.
At least not one of them. Guess,
go organic. I would think that it probably accounts for less than 1% of the grocery store's tampon sales. I even discovered that one of the brands, Stay Free, which is highlighted here in pink, is owned by Energizer, the battery company. I'm serious. This happened all the way back in 2013. And I'll bet that basically no women that buy Stay Free knows that she's buying from a battery company. Like, they should make their sizing named after battery sizes if they're going to do that. Like, you can just get your AAAs or your AA's or your super extra heavy flow D battery. I mean, tampons. Anyways, once I looked up who owned all the mega corporations that were selling these tampons, I learned that they're all owned by the same shadowy financial cabal, foreshadowing the first layer of the BlackRock conspiracy theory. And we'll get into the whole thing in just a minute. And yes, for all the finance bros out there, don't worry.
I'm a finance bro. Let's get into it.
Sellers, same singular mega corporate mass.
Deodorant's on the same kind of.
It's not just BlackRock. There's a whole rabbit hole that we're about to go down.
My most viral
is your findings in the food aisle, because all of these brands that are featured in this report were the ones owned by the banking cartel mega corporations. There were way too many messed up findings in the report to cover them all here. And I would say that you should go find this report for yourself, but when I was getting ready for this video and checked back in on this report, it had been mysteriously taken down off of the government site where it had been hosted. So it's kind of weird. You can probably go find it on archive.org, though, I would imagine. But just to give a summary, the report lists levels of various heavy metals that were determined by the FDA to be acceptable in food products. And then it goes on to say, quote, the test results of baby foods and their ingredients eclipse those levels, including results up to 91 times the arsenic level, up to 177 times the lead level, up to 69 times the cadmium level, and up to 5 times the mercury level. As in, yeah, you are reading that correctly. Some of these baby foods were testing at 177 times the acceptable level of lead in baby food. Not 177%. It's 177
like,
times.
What kind of manufacturing are you doing to where you have that much lead in baby food? What's the point? It's like, yeah, I'm gonna wake up today and just
and we wonder why we have a chronic disease epidemic. This is in the baby food, folks. It's babies. It's not even the regular food. But I didn't stop there.
That's the healthcare system for
from
you.
Detergent to cereal. Remember, colored in red means it's owned by the same banking cartel, most notably BlackRock and Vanguard and State Street. We'll get to that in just a minute. I did sauces, ice cream, dressings. Some types of products had more variety than others. Some aisles had a lot of family and founder-owned brands to choose from. But in the end, you start to realize what many of us all already kind of know, but have never quite visualized.
Nestle, Coca-Cola,
all of our abundance, all of our foods and drinks
Mars,
and soaps
Kellogg's,
and lotions,
PepsiCo,
everything else. Thousands and thousands of brands to choose from. But it's actually all owned by just a handful of mega corporations. And now this is where we peel back the next layer of the onion. Because if you wanted to know who owns any given product, like, say, Hidden Valley Ranch dressing, which is one of my favorite examples, you can search that on the internet for yourself. This is what I was doing for every single product on those grocery store aisle shelves.
Which most likely leads to BlackRock, State Street, or Vanguard.
So you search that, and you'll find out that Clorox owns Hidden Valley Ranch dressing, which is a bit alarming and not exactly what you were probably hoping to find. And notice that this is old news, too. Clorox acquired Hidden Valley Ranch in 1972. They've been making the ranch since before most of you were born. But then, the inquisitive mind might ask, who owns Clorox? And the answer is that Clorox is a publicly traded company. Mm-hmm. I like to call it a mega corporation, but it just means that they sell shares and your finance bro buddy on Wall Street Bets can YOLO his fat bag into the stock and hope it goes to the moon. And this means that Clorox is owned by its shareholders. So, who are these shareholders? If you want to know who owns a public company like Clorox,
there you go,
the phrase you need to search for is institutional ownership. Because while your buddy who trolls Wall Street Bets for the next short squeeze might be able to buy some shares, he's really just a tiny little germ compared to the big boys, the banks. So you're looking for the top institutional shareholders. And for Clorox, it's all these guys: Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street, Geode Capital Management, Morgan Stanley, FMR is Fidelity, Stifle.
And I'll say you can probably look up any product and like anything, but this Sunny D I got right here, this Ozarka water I got right here, everything on this desk most likely probably has looks similar to that as far as institutional holdings. That's why more diversity in the financial space needs to happen. More people need to stop selling out for the quick check. That's how they get ownership of everything, because they get in a lot of things very 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 early.
Full Financial Corporation, they're not a common one. Citadel Advisors, Royal Bank of Canada, Champlain Investment Partners, LLC. Collectively, just quick math, looks like these top 10 owners collectively own about 35% of the company. And that's pretty typical. The more of this research you do, the more you realize that these sheets always seem to look the same. Dave's Killer Bread, not owned by Dave. Sorry, it was bought by Flowers Foods, a mega corporation, and they're owned by Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street, plus a bunch of banks and fund managers. General Mills, JP Morgan, Norfolk Southern, American Waterworks, top owners, Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street, highlighted in red, plus all the banks and financial institutions and investment firms making up the rest of the list.
A little sidebar. I actually had a thought to myself while I was doing some research similar to this, and I was like I wonder, is BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard making money off of like YouTubers? You know what I mean? Like, so I searched if they were like, do they own any channels or anything like that? No, they don't. But they have a really, really, really high stake in Alphabet. Alphabet is what owns YouTube. So inadvertently, they do make money off all of our content.
You start looking at entire industries, and you realize that the same is true for all of the biggest corporations in every industry, like food and beverage, banking, big tech. Each of those images collaged together is an individual ownership sheet, like the ones we were just looking at for Clorox. And highlighted in red on each sheet are Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street, almost always the top three spots, i.e., the top three shareholders. The same is true for the oil industry and for the green energy industry, even literally for hospice, funeral care, and cemetery homes. They're buying those too. Because if you're going to make money poisoning people right out the gate in the baby food, I mean, why not also make money when they die, right? So, as I did all this research across basically every industry in the economy, I found the same major thing over and over and over again. It's a big club, and we are not in it. So naturally, I got curious just how much of the stock market of all the publicly traded companies do BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street actually own? Like, how
they
big
own some
is
of
their
every
share
single
or
one
slice of the pie? So I took the top 100 companies on the U.S. market.
And also, I'm not sure if he's going to dive into it, but they own each other. BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard, they own each other. So they own everything and they own each other. So it's really just one. It's not even a club. It's just one entity for real, if you think about it.
Companies that you're very familiar with, like Tesla, Pfizer, Starbucks, Verizon, Lockheed Martin, Home Depot, normal companies, the big ones, the top 100. And I built a giant spreadsheet that scraped their stock ownership information live off the web and into my charts. And then I used all that data to build this sheet showing what percentage of the top 100 companies in America are owned by each of these investment firms, banks, and billionaires. And even though I had already been doing this research for months, this kind of shocked me. Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street combined represent more than $5 trillion invested in the top 100 companies. On the right of this chart, you can see that collectively, that represents 42.2% of all the shares of ownership in the top 100 companies. If you expand your scope to the 25 biggest financial institutions, they collectively own 83% of the shares. 83%.
Whew, they're going to try to buy me.
This is just the top 25 biggest financial institutions.
No, you can't.
There are hundreds of them above us on these lists. So now, it's important to slow down and explain what a share actually is. Like, what does it represent? What does it mean? Because a lot of us think of shares of stock as something nebulous, like a form of gambling for white guys in suits, and kind of, but a share is way more than that. A share is a share of ownership of a company. And it's a share of the voting rights for how that company is run. Because in a sick way, all of these companies are actually run democratically. except that you buy your votes. Like the more shares you own, the more votes you
It's
get. So
just
if you
like
own 10% of the
America.
shares, you get
It's
10% of
just
the
like
voting
America.
rights. It's actually pretty simple. You don't vote on
That's why
every tiny
America
little
is
thing the
doing the
company is going to
best
do, like
banking.
what color the packaging will
Well,
be
not the
or
best
how many
banking, but
Cheerios go into a
the
box,
most
but you
banking.
vote on the big things like major policies that the company is going to adopt or reject. Shareholders can introduce their own items for voting. In the 2010s, one of the most popular ones were like various versions of sustainability initiatives like eco-friendly packaging, zero emission commitments, stuff like that. Almost every company in the American market was voting on those sorts of initiatives over the last decade. And there is a reason why that we will get to. But most importantly, shareholders vote on who will
Larry,
sit on the
that's
board of
the reason why.
directors. And they are the ones that guide the company and hire and fire the executives that actually run the company on the day to day, like the CEO, CFO, COO. It's a lot of C names. Those guys are called the C suite because they're all chiefs, you know? So they, the C suite, are hired and fired by the board of directors, who we elect with our shared voting rights. And all of this is determined by shareholder voting. The more shares you own, the more votes you get. You see where this is?
Note now, everything he's saying is only for publicly traded companies. This isn't for private companies such as like Walmart. I'm pretty sure Walmart's still privately owned.
Going yet? Because this is where we kind of crush the typical BlackRock conspiracy theories that you've probably seen all over YouTube and Reddit and wherever else. This is where the finance bros are all screaming that BlackRock doesn't actually own the shares, and that's kind of correct. But let's start by just meeting the big three: Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street. Although State Street is actually owned by
Put me in the
BlackRock now,
middle.
so it's kind of awkward. But, anyways, these guys are investment management firms, and you probably are invested with them. At least if you're old enough and well off enough to have any sort of retirement account or investment savings account or anything like that. Maybe if you dabble in buying ETFs or index funds or the like, the big three mostly manage other people's money for them. They invested across wide sweeping portfolios of stocks to just like minimize risk and make your wealth grow slowly over time without, losing it all. Vanguard pioneered this mutual fund model decades ago, and then BlackRock elevated it with popularization of index and exchange traded funds. So now
And then we're turning it up with AIs and algorithms and whatnot. So definitely tap in below.
buy a share of, let's say, I don't know, BlackRock's Voltron 3000 fund or whatever. I just made that up. BlackRock's Voltron 3000 fund has a whole bunch of shares of 3,000 different companies all across the markets in its portfolio. And you have a tiny little slice of that portfolio and of its profit or loss, right? So, because your risk is now spread out across 3,000 different stocks, you're not going to lose it all when Circuit City goes bankrupt because you thought it was going to go to the moon. But you also won't get rich when GameStop does go to the moon. So, whatever. They don't really want you getting rich anyways. So it's true though. Most of the money that the big three manage is not their own money. Most of it is actually our retirement accounts, like trillions of dollars of our retirement accounts. So all the halfwits out there that just accept what they're told in business school as like gospel fact think, oh, nothing to see here. It's all good, bro. BlackRock doesn't actually own any of these companies. They're just holding it for us. Like, right? Sort of. You can look this up for yourself. It's not hard to figure out. When you buy a share of a mutual fund or an index fund or an exchange traded fund, all the types of products that the big three are selling, you sign over your voting rights to the fund managers, to BlackRock. Sure, they are managing your money, but they are also managing your voting power. You are now a beneficial owner of a share of their fund, not the underlying shares of the corporations they are investing in on your behalf. And so, when we say that BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street own 42% of all the shares in the top 100 companies on the market, that means that they control 42% of the voting power. Add in their buddies, and the top 25 financial institutions control 83% of the voting power. That means they control all of these companies. They pick the boards of directors, they pick the policies, they decide how things are going to run, when companies will do share buybacks or dividends, all the rest of it. Obviously, they're not all powerful, but by the rules of their own game, they've basically got it all locked down. And perhaps most subtle and sinister of all, this changes the nature of capitalism in a fundamental way. Because
Oh yeah.
fiduciary duty is a legal term binding these companies and their chief officers to act in the best interest of their shareholders. And honestly, this makes perfect sense. The whole point of a public company is that this company serves our whole community or country or state or whatever it is, and we can all buy into it and have a say in how it's run. And in exchange for taking our investment money, they have a duty to do what's best for us, the investors. But that's not how the world works today. We are not the investors that they are beholden to anymore. Now, all of these companies' fiduciary duty is to the bankers and the fund managers and the Larry Finks of this world. They are legally bound to do what is best for them, not for you. And if it's best for them to sell baby food with 177 times the legal amount of lead in it, well, they're going to do it. If it's best for them to sell you untested pharmaceutical products, then they're going to do it. If they'll make more money filling the food with drugs and poisons, not only are they going to do it,
They're gonna
they
do it
are
a lot.
legally obligated to. It's their fiduciary duty, and they can actually be fired if they don't. But now, real quick, we cannot talk about BlackRock without also mentioning the genie in the bottle, Larry Fink's
Big
financial
Larry.
supercomputer, Aladdin. So Aladdin stands for Asset Liability and Debt and Derivative Investment Network. He just wanted a cool name. And it is one of the oldest financial computer systems and artificial intelligence systems on the planet.
Blah 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 blah. We're gonna go ahead and start cutting it a bit here because I ain't gonna lie. It's actually a good opportunity for me to talk to you guys a bit about what's it called? Shucks. We just workshop the name. We just workshop the name. But we do have Harmony already on the market right now. But what we have that's coming behind Harmony, it's an algorithm similar to something like Aladdin, or really any other trading investment algorithm out there, outside of the fact that this one doesn't lose. And when I say it doesn't lose, I mean, and this is why it's definitely being geared towards more institutions, because this one's definitely a market mover kind of tool. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. So if you're not an institution, don't even ask about it. Actually, you know what? I'm not even gonna tell you guys the name. We're gonna keep the name a secret for now. Y'all find out about it later. But Harmony is already on the markets right now. So basically, what that is right there, Aladdin, what BlackRock has, that's helping guide investments in money and whatnot, you can have on your phone essentially right now, and it works a whole lot better. So Aladdin is really slow, and it's lagging because it's not pulling in all the same data that we're pulling in. Right now, I'm not gonna act like I have more access than Larry damn Fink, but I got this here, and I coded my own tools, right? So, you guys can check the track record as far as like my analytical skills, and how I read the markets and whatnot, and the tools that we've built from the Bird's Eye View tool and the Harmony Bot are literally just me digitally. You know what I mean? It's just me in a digital version. That's all it is. So all the accuracy and all the amazing trades and insights that come from straight from me to this YouTube channel are being fed through and traded with on the bots, and on the tool, like, what I'm saying, all day every day, 24/7. All right, so the Bird's Eye View tool is free. You guys can check that out in the link down in the description. And then the Harmony bot, that's not free. That's a money printer that turns your money into more money. That's why I say it's definitely a lot better than Aladdin, and a lot safer. You can be your own custodian now. You know what I'm saying? You can actually have your money actively moving without being glued to a chart, without having to change your lifestyle, become a full on investor. You can just go on about living and have your whole investment portfolio, retirement portfolio set up right there on your phone, being worked on 24/7 by a bot named Harmony. All right. And like I said, you guys can find that in the description below. If you guys got some value out of this, hit that like button, hit that sub button, and that bell icon. All of that. Again, it's going to tell the algorithm that this is good content and it needs to get pushed forward. Right. One more time. Hit that like button, hit that sub button, and that bell icon. All right. I love y'all. Make sure you're kind to somebody today. I'm going to catch y'all on the next one.